Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we talk about the pretty, twisted side of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a new kinkster or have years of experience, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us on this journey as we talk about our personal experiences and use the knowledge we've gained over 28 years of being involved in both private and professional aspects of this lifestyle to help you explore every facet of kink.
Get set for an adventure. Not only will you learn and grow, but we promise loads of laughter, turning each episode into a fun party. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get this show started. Pink Kink runs off the generosity of our devoted patrons.
As a patron, you will become a member of our special Discord server, receive some adorable Pink Kink stickers, as well as have access to a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast. Patrons also get discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
In addition, our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get special audio and video episodes. And finally, patrons at our highest tier will be recognized as producers, both here on the podcast and on our website.
If you would like to become a patron, you can visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click the link at pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Brianna Lynn, Daddy J, Fabe, Embers, Blossom, William P, Claire, Lady Blooding, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Manda Panda, Cat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Kilted Sir, Brian, May Cry Devil, Ruby Riot, Mistress Velma, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, AK Harley Chick, Violet Rain, Serenity, Belle, Eric, Lady Affliction,
Dr. Dave, Pumpkin Pie, Ms. Tourmaline, S'more, Hacksaw, Wee Mad Beastie, To Be Better For Me, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Forrest, BP Bryn, Crash Override, Iro, Kinky Bear, Sviper No Swiping, Barbie, Navigator Bard, Frost, Sinful and Naughty, Coffee and Chaos, Noir, Haley's Comment, Mr. Pillsbury, Stitch, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Princess Sassy Pants, Lady and Lex, Chaos Monster, Casper, Hazel Page, Jessa Lady, DJ Harlow, Ophelia, Master A, and Drew.
I don't have anything.
You don't have a shtick?
I don't have a shtick. I talked about my adventures at the dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about my adventures with my family, having to be, vanilla. Well, vanilla-ish. I could never be.
You had more sprinkles than vanilla.
Yeah, I did, but I only had sprinkles.
You could see the vanilla through the sprinkles.
I wanted the whole ice cream.
What do you call an entire ice cream made of sprinkles?
Yummy.
I feel like there should be a name for that.
If there is, and can somebody make one? So Dara, though, I did want to touch briefly on the conflict that you had with Daddy J this morning.
That's where we're going with this?
I got nothing. I'm doing my best here.
Okay.
Look, I can't have everything that comes out of my mouth be genius. Some of it's genius. Some of it's just
a stretch.
A very big stretch.
Well, considering. Yes, conflict, except he doesn't realize that there was a conflict, except for the whole me staring at him daggers going, essentially it just goes like this. I stare daggers and he looks pissed off at what he's doing, but he's doing it anyway. And I'm pissed off that he's doing it. Why the fuck are you doing it if it's pissing you off? I'm not going to do it, so I guess he has to do it. And then it's the full circle of I'm still pissed off and never told him I was pissed off.
Okay, and do we just stay in that or do we ever resolve any of this?
No, it just goes to, hi, I love you. Okay, thanks, bye. I'm going to Rara's. All right, love you.
Is this just like the circle of life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, if you didn't listen to the last episode, when Dara left, she kissed the dogs goodbye, but not Daddy J.
I kissed him goodbye, too. It was assumed that I didn't have to specifically say it. He doesn't let me go unless I kiss him goodbye.
Well, that's good.
It's okay. During the work week, I don't let him go because he wakes up earlier than me and leaves an hour and a half before I do. If I'm still asleep when he leaves, he has to kiss me goodbye. I don't care if I'm asleep or not. Because if I wake up and he hasn't done that, then that's grounds for abandonment.
If you were sleeping, how do you know if he does or doesn't do it?
It wakes me up. I'm a pretty light sleeper. But He has to come over and kiss me goodbye, even if I'm asleep. And if he doesn't, I will call him crying. Do you hate me? Do you not love me anymore? Did you abandon me?
Oh, that is sad.
Yeah, I've done that. That's not a joke. I've actually really done that.
Oh my God. Okay.
The little was strong that day.
Yeah, I'm more along the lines of don't, because if you wake me, there will be hell.
Well,
You don't fucking mess with my sleep.
most of the time I say something to the effect of,
Yeah. There's nothing worse than, see, it also depends on when, because if it's like an hour before I would have to wake up, then that messes me up. But if it's like 3 or 4 hours, then I can still fall back asleep and get a solid couple of hours.
I normally, once I'm up, I'm up. Except in that case. That case, normally I can like go back to sleep relatively okay. But if the dogs wake up, I'm fucked.
Yeah. They don't care.
No.
So if you haven't figured it out, you might not have. Today's episode is basically about conflict resolution, specifically in DS dynamics.
Hold on. Were we going to talk about what the conflict actually was about? Or do they just, we should just direct them back to the previous episode?
Go back to the previous episode.
Okay.
That way, will help the numbers go up. Because they'll have to go back and listen to another episode to know what we're talking about in this episode.
Cool.
It's all part of my master evil plan.
Mwahaha.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that reminds me. No.
Wait, master evil plan or mwahaha?
The mohaha. I came across social media. I can't remember if it was Instagram or TikTok. And they talked about the 10 best words. And do you know what number 6 was?
Mwahaha?
Kerfuffle.
Oh.
And then I was watching, there's a TikToker, I think her name is Maggie. She's a PR guru. Like that's what you hire her to be your PR person. And she does a lot of social media on the different kerfuffles that famous people get into, athletes, the whole thing with
been a ton.
The whole thing with Justin Timberlake
Mm-hmm.
and the DUI. And she said, and I almost died. She actually started this going, so I've been getting tagged a lot in this brouhaha.
Oh my God.
And I went, yes, somebody else uses my terms too.
So I would like to add to this list,
Yeah.
the list of funny words
Yeah.
or best words. I would like to add, what was that one? The shitstorm, the sand dust storm,
The haboob.
haboob.
Well, the words were like kerfuffle, discombobulated, like all those things.
I'm sorry, but haboob needs to be on that fucking list. I love that word.
I'm so glad that I've introduced that word to you.
If you would like to understand what the fuck we're talking about, please go back to our previous episode, which was episode
177?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I think we discussed haboob in 177.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Because it was 5 minutes ago.
Okay. It's so 5 minutes ago. Oh no. Oh my God. Poor Dar's dying.
I inhaled spit while I was choking. Don't do that.
Kids, don't try this at home. Dar is a trained professional.
Hold up. I'm a what? Oh, God. You can tell we've done 3 episodes today.
It's always the third. It's always the third episode.
Oh, wait. Where's the tissue that I had before? Because,
No.
fuck it. I'll just get a new one.
You and me both. You and me both.
Why is this funny? Oh, God. I broke Rara. You can tell because you can't hear her. And when Rara is silent, something is wrong. Wait, I gotta get a picture. Wait.
Oh no, it's hurting. I've reached the it hurts stage of laughter.
Ow. I think I hit that when I almost threw up on the side of the recording studio. Okay.
I feel silly because we seem way too happy and laughing to discuss this topic.
I feel like that's par for the course, though.
But we're
Need I remind
discussing
you-
conflict resolution.
Cannibalism jokes.
We're angry. We're
Angry
using-
eyes.
I was gonna say that.
This isn't gonna work out too well.
They're off. Oh, thank God I did go to the bathroom already. I'm safe for a little bit. Anyway.
Depends on how bad you had to go.
Depends. I might need some.
Oh, it's gonna be one of those.
Sorry,
Hold on,
not sorry.
I have to post that in our no We need another channel that's just no context.
Oh, we can make just like recording day no context channel.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Anyway, as I was trying to say before we lost it for I don't even know what reason.
I don't know.
Conflicts are inevitable. Like you cannot have a relationship with a person without conflicts. In any relationship, if you reach the point where you no longer have conflicts, I think that's a relationship that doesn't give a shit about each other anymore.
What?
You okay there?
I'm still.
You know, they
I don't know
say
what's
the
happening.
opposite of love is hate.
Yeah.
I don't know. The opposite of love is
Indifference?
indifference.
Yeah. Because when I fell out of love with both my exes, I was indifferent. Well, one of them I just straight up hate now, but at the time I was totally indifferent. But yeah, that's what I feel anyway.
Conflicts are hard enough to navigate and get through without even adding things like, oh, I don't know, DS dynamics. If you listen to our episode on Feisty Rara,
There's a lot of those though.
yeah, then you know that there's difficulty in still maintaining your feelings and your thoughts and still being respectful.
You just noticed?
I'm going to ignore this. I'm trying to be serious. It's a serious topic. Listen, I've done that sometimes when my nose is running incessantly. It's just easier to just keep it there.
Yes, that's what I was doing.
Right? You know, when you've got miscommunication, unmet expectations, or outside personal stressors that are coming into your relationship, and it's going to cause issues. But DS dynamics are not immune to conflicts that may have everything to do with the DS or nothing to do with the DS, but everything to do with just the fact that it's a relationship between two people and humans argue sometimes.
Yeah, shit happens.
Right. And so power exchange dynamics can really complicate that conflict resolution. Like, how do you, can you argue submissively, right? Can you tell your dominant how you're really feeling or without losing the submissive nature? And if you don't resolve these conflicts constructively, because that's really the key, the health of your relationship is going to be affected. The relationship is probably not going to last. You're going to build resentment and everybody's just going to be miserable. You really need to learn to address the conflicts head on to prevent resentment and misunderstandings from festering, because as somebody who tends to hold things in until I blow up because I can't hold them in any longer,
It festers until it ruptures.
it's not the right way.
That is definitely me.
Okay. But if you have effective conflict resolution, it not only is going to resolve the problems in your DS dynamic, but it's also going to strengthen it and strengthen the trust and the intimacy that you have with one another. So we're going to talk about understanding conflict, some communication strategies, how to still maintain respect and consent. Not necessarily about speaking submissively, but how to still maintain the framework of your dynamic and be respectful to the dynamic and each of your roles in it while you're negotiating solutions and rebuilding trust in the relationship. So I want to emphasize that the importance of fostering a respectful and understanding environment is where both partners feel heard and valued. So that means if you're the submissive, you need to know that your dominant is hearing you and valuing your feedback, valuing and acknowledging your feelings, whether they agree with them or not, because it doesn't matter whether or not they agree with your feelings. They're your feelings and you got them.
Rara,
Yeah.
I'm still having some fallout from the laugh attack. I think I've got pieces of tissue in my eyelashes. And it's difficult for me to follow where you are in these notes right now.
Good. You just keep working on that. I'll keep going. I see it actually in the other eye.
Where is it? This feels weird.
I know. I'm sorry.
Fuck.
You good? You okay?
Is it still there?
No, I don't see it anymore.
Okay. God, it was like, it was actually blurry.
I forgot because you got contacts in, don't
Yes. So everything was weird and tissuey.
you? Okay. You okay
Yeah,
now?
no, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So let's start with defining conflict in a DS relationship. Okay.
Okie dokie.
They can stem from various sources, such as differences in needs and desires, or boundaries or misunderstanding about roles and expectations. They could, if you are a couple who live together, maybe there's a conflict because you've got your DS dynamic stuff and your vanilla everyday stuff. And how does that all mesh together? What happens if you're assigned a task, but you've also got a work issue, or you've come home in a pissant mood because your work colleagues are assholes.
Who doesn't have an asshole work colleague? I mean, like, name one person.
Me.
Okay.
Maybe that's because I only have one boss and one work colleague. So the odds are in my favor.
Your work colleague can do some things.
Yeah, well, they're human.
Yes.
I mean, I could also say my boss's dog is my work colleague because she hangs out with me too.
Yeah, that's true.
She's more of a... Actually, if anything, the dog's the shithole.
I was going to say, is it a cute dog at least?
Not particularly.
Oh,
it's a small dog. Do I need to say anything else?
No.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
No, that's the asshole right there.
Yeah, right there. You might have, for instance, disagreements over what you're going to do in a scene, how you're going to do it, where you're going to do it, discrepancies in aftercare needs, or differences in lifestyle choices. I'll give you an example. Not necessarily a good one because it involves Voldemort, so take it for what it is. But one of the conflicts that we had was actually in regard to the DS versus the polyamory, because I felt as the collared submissive, there were certain boundaries I was entitled to that he and my metamor did not think I was entitled to. And we had to sit down and discuss it and hammer out what was an expectation that I wanted that he could also be okay with. Because that just because I wanted it doesn't mean he would be okay with it, even in a healthy relationship, which this one wasn't. So we had to sit and negotiate and compromise and come up with something that we were both okay with, which he then broke, which is why I'm not with him anymore. But you get the idea. You get the idea, right? I've had, when I was the dom and I had a submissive, we had a conflict over I wanted to do something in a scene, but there was again, polyamory, there was a second dominant, and we didn't have the second dominant's permission for me to do what I wanted to do. And because it was the submissive who I was working with, and she's the one who told me I can't do that because of the other dominant, how did we work through that? So those are just some examples. I know some other examples that some of my friends have had in their DS dynamic. It's one friend in particular has some health issues. And so oddly enough, some of their conflicts have been more that the dominant has told them to sit down and rest and not do their tasks. And she feels somehow she's not serving properly if she's not doing her tasks. And so that's what they've argued about, which is a very interesting thing to argue about. But yes,
100% completely understand that, because I have a chronic health issue and it affects my joints. And sometimes I will do too much and need a break, but I don't take the break. And Daddy gets mad at me for not taking the break and sitting down. He says, I was cooking dinner last night and every single step felt like a knife in my joints. And he was like, why are you not wearing your brace? Why are you not taking care of yourself? Sit down. I'll take care of what you need. I'm like, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. And he's like, no, you really don't. Can you please just sit the fuck down? Do you need an ice pack? No, I need to finish this. No, you really the hell do not. So, yeah, it is a valid argument on both sides, because people can be stubborn as shit no matter what.
I know nothing about that.
Yeah. Y'all, you should see her face right now.
Do you not see the halo over my head because I'm an innocent angel?
You're sitting here doing side-eye while saying that you are not stubboron. Uh-huh.
I'm just a baby.
You said that in the most old lady voice I think I've ever heard you use.
It was
just a baby.
That's more like an evil witch voice.
I'm a baby. Wait, what is that?
Wait a minute, now I'm hearing the Lollipop Guild. Because that voice sounded like the Lollipop Guild song.
Okay, wait. Hold on. I'm not going to be able to do it. I was going to try and channel like Fran Drescher, but now I can't do it.
You okay there?
No.
Fran Drescher's got very specific skills there. Okay, so now, so we understand and recognize that conflicts just happen, right? I used to get at my ex-husband the silliest thing. So in Arizona, bathrooms don't have doors. The toilet room has a door.
I've seen that in Florida.
Okay, but the bathroom doesn't.
Yes.
And he would have to get up earlier than me, and the lights would come on.
Yeah.
And because of the side of the bed I slept on, that means the lights were in my face. And we used to argue about that because I'm like, you don't need that much light to get ready. You're fine.
Okay, but in all fairness, that's the house's fault.
Yes, but it meant we had to come up with a solution because I didn't like the way things were going.
Well, what was the solution? Get divorced?
No, he didn't turn the light on. I won.
Oh, yeah. That's a good compromise right there.
Well, that kind of flows into actually the impact of power exchange on conflicts, right? When you have a power exchange relationship, you have an inherent power imbalance in the relationship, which is going to shape the nature of the conflict and how you handle it, right? One person obviously is going to hold more power than the other person. And yes, it is consensual. Yes, you've agreed to it. Yes, you've negotiated it. However, you haven't been able to negotiate every conflict because some of them you can't anticipate they happen until they happen.
Yeah.
Or the conflict also may on one day, you might have had enough sleep. You've eaten enough. It's the weekend, so you're not at work. So you're in a great mood, so the shit doesn't bother you. But if it happened on a different day, you didn't get enough sleep. You haven't had a chance to eat because you've been so busy. And it was a work day, so you come home in a pissy mood. And now you're bothered by it.
And it just happens to land on the week of the cycle where you're at your most pissy.
Yeah.
I will literally forewarn my husband. I'm like, hey, babe, this week, every single thing you do, say, or think is going to piss me off.
Pretty much. Well, look, informed consent.
And he's like, okay, good to know.
So does that make him risk aware?
It better, because that is a risk. If he speaks to me, the risk is I'm going to bite his head off, and not in a fun little way.
And which head, the big head or the little head? Or both?
He won't let me near little head when I'm pissy like that.
On the off chance you might bite it?
Yeah. On the off chance I miss.
Oh, that's not the kind of biting he wants.
No.
Right? So there's some really unique challenges that are going to arise when you're trying to deal with a conflict and one of you is dominant in the relationship and one of you is submissive. And some of those risks include things like your submissive partner is going to feel unheard or marginalized, or their concerns aren't valid or important. Especially if the conflict is that the dominant didn't meet a need or crossed over a boundary. Now, it may be that the partner was just not aware of the need or didn't realize it was a boundary because the boundary had changed since you last had discussed it. So while it's really important for the dominant to be attuned to their submissive's emotional state, I think the most important thing is that the dominant has to understand the submissive needs their voice heard. And if you're in a relationship with a dominant who basically says, well, I'm the dom, you're the sub, you have to deal with this. No, actually, you don't. And you can leave. And you probably should. You want to be with a partner who hears what you have to say. Remember, again, and we've said this so many times, a DS relationship is a relationship first. And the DS is just the type of relationship. And why would you want to be in a relationship with somebody who makes you feel that your emotional state isn't important and that your voice isn't heard?
That's not a DS relationship. That's just abuse.
One of the things that I hate, and I don't know anybody who likes it, is being told, well, that's your problem, right? Those are your feelings. That's your problem.
I've said that to people. Sounds like a you problem.
Right. And sometimes while that may be the answer, unless they've really pissed you off, I don't think it's going to be very...
It's not constructive. The better answer is, well, how can we work it out? How can we fix it so that that's better for you? However, at the time of me saying it, I am always at my absolute pettiest.
Well, to say that's a you sounds like a you problem. That's obviously I'm angry and I can't believe we're even having this discussion.
Now, listen, I have never once said that to Daddy J or to any person that I have a relationship with. It was a work thing.
Right. An acquaintance, a work acquaintance.
Yes. And,
and how
they said the stupidest fucking thing.
Well, also how you handle work is different than how you handle your personal relationships.
And at this point, I did not have to be professional. Let me just state that.
Yeah. Usually I say it to my kids. That sounds like a you problem because I'm mom of the year there.
Go figure it out yourself, sweetie.
Actually, usually what I say to them is, how did this become my problem?
Because you're the mom.
I understand. But when my daughter calls me up and says, I'm bored, entertain me. How did your boredom become my problem?
I think it's still cute that she runs to you, the mom, still, instead of her friends.
Yeah.
I call my cousin on the way home from recording. I'm like, hey, I'm in the car. I'm bored.
Okay, if she does it with me, it's usually because her friends aren't available. I'm the last option.
Oh.
I do rank above dad.
Well, from what you've told me about dad, he's pretty boring. So that would put her to sleep in the car, which is not good.
You want to make sure that if there's any misunderstandings or miscommunications that fall within the dynamic specifically, that you have to sit down and clear things up, make sure you have a mutual understanding that everybody is aware and understanding of what each person's expectations are. I mean, you can handle things in different ways. I know people who would say we use a code word and we slip out of our DS roles so that when we have conflict, we are coming together as absolute equals with no power imbalance. I know I know of a couple who would bring in a mediator. They had a friend who would come in and help mediate so that because it was very hard for the submissive specifically to let go of that submissive feeling and that submissive role.
Yeah, the mindset it's hard to shake.
Right. And needed to make sure that there was somebody there who, not so much as their proxy, but somebody to make sure that the submissive was getting heard and wasn't being railroaded. An advocate. Thank you. So let's talk about some common misconceptions when it comes to conflict. That conflict in a DS dynamic can undermine authority, and that it undermines the authority of the dominant if the submissive comes to them. Look, here's a problem. Here's something I'm not happy about. Here's something that you did that I was really hurt by. Like, it doesn't take away from the dominant's role. In fact, addressing and resolving conflicts can actually reinforce the dominant's role by demonstrating commitment to the relationship's health and well-being. So if you come to, if you're the submissive, and I'm saying you, but I don't mean Dara. If you're coming to me as my submissive with a problem.
The royal you?
The royal me. Yes. Everything with me is royal.
No,
yes.
Well, never mind.
The royal me, we, you, all of that. So my submissive comes to me. Here's something that happened. Instead of feeling, oh, well, that takes away from my role as the dominant, I could look at it going, oh, look, they've come to me with a problem that needs to be resolved. And as the dominant in the relationship, I am going to use my dominant skills to create a solution that works for both of us and helps take care of our relationship's health and well-being.
Sounds good.
That conflict diminishes submission. So if the submissive comes to you and says, I have a problem with this, somehow they're less submissive. Wonder who thinks that.
Alpha males.
Right. And actually, any submissive expressing their needs and boundaries, to me, is just doing the submissive job that I've told the submissive to do, which is communicate with me. Right? We talk about communication. One of the jobs that I would tell anybody who is either bottoming from me or submitting to me is, please communicate with me. I am not a mind reader. If I don't know, I can't do what you need me to do. You have to communicate. So if my submissive is coming to me saying, hey, I need to communicate with you about this issue, they're actually doing what they were told to do.
Yeah, you can't tell somebody to do something and then get mad at them for doing it. That's bullshit.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you want what I should tell them, no, if you have any problems, keep it to yourself, get over it? Like, how's that going to benefit my relationship?
Yeah, if you have any problems, work it out. That's a you problem, not a me problem. We're not in relationship is not about you problem, me problem. It's we problem.
Yes. It's our relationship. And by the submissive knowing that they can come to their dominant with these conflicts and resolving them, it is going to enhance the depth of their submission because they're going to now have more respect for their dominant and they'll have more trust with their dominant. And obviously, the more you trust your dominant to take care of you as a submissive, the more you can really delve deep into that submission and let control go. One of the reasons I can't submit is because I can't let go of that control, because I haven't found anybody yet in my world that I trust enough to know that what I want and need will be taken care of.
I actually was just thinking how lucky I was to find that person. Because like I said, I went daddy hunting specifically. And I happened to find somebody who I was able to mold into what I wanted and needed. And it worked out really, really well, because now he yells at me when I don't take breaks.
Good daddy.
Yeah, I guess he's good for something.
Mm-hmm. Another myth would be that if your relationship has a conflict, well, that's a problem. Your relationship is weak and your relationship is failing. And I absolutely challenge that idea, because I don't know of any relationship, even the healthiest, long-lasting, couples who've been married for 50 plus years who've never had a conflict.
Yeah, that seems like bullshit.
Instead, let conflict be an opportunity for growth and strengthening the relationship. Because when you can get through conflict as a team, then that just brings the two of you closer together and makes you aware that you can, bring the challenges on. We can tackle them and get past them and grow together. So some of the psychological aspects of conflict are things like emotional triggers, right? Certain words or actions can really trigger emotional responses based upon past experiences or insecurities, or as my friends at Loving BDSM call them, bad tapes. Bad tapes are those sounds, words you hear in your head replayed over and over that come from bad relationships. So if you're upset about something that happened, the bad tape in your head might be from your last partner who was trying to gaslight you, who was telling you, your partner's not doing anything wrong. That's a you problem. You just need to get over it. You're being overly sensitive.
I'm so glad that you read my subtitle on my face.
One that said, I don't understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like,
I knew
wait,
it.
What?
Well, the confusion on your face was very glaringly obvious.
Like I said, I translate Rara speaking and you translate Dara face.
Yes. So when you are dealing with a conflict, you need to very much be aware of those. And if you know that your partner has certain actions or words that trigger them, like fucking avoid them.
Duh.
You should not be going when you're resolving a conflict, you should not be going for the kill shot. That's not resolving a conflict.
That's blowing up your relationship.
What's more important, that you be right?
Rara.
Or that your relationship is healthy?
Rara. What's more important, that you be right?
Depends.
Depends
on what it is.
Okay.
If it's a conflict, no. It's not important that the world recognizes that I'm right. It's my running joke. I even told my boss this the other day. I don't need you to say I was right and agree to what I want. I just need to get what I want. So if you think that somehow you've won the argument or you got your way, that's fine. Did I get what I wanted in the end? Yes. Then I'm okay. I just want what I want when I want it. And if I got it, then yay me. But I've been with people who, one of the things, it's interesting, especially having had like a 17-year marriage, plus the year we were together before we got married. So 18 years together.
That's it? 1 year. You were together 1 year.
We were together 6 months and got engaged, and got married 6 months after getting engaged.
What the actual fuck?
Okay, we were in our 30s.
Fair enough.
So they know all the buttons to push to upset you. And if you intentionally push those buttons, then A, you're a fucking bastard, and B, the relationship's not going to last.
I was going to say, speaking from experience there, Rara, about the fucking bastard pushing your buttons part.
Yeah. Then the relationship isn't going to last. So you should care enough about your partner to minimize unnecessary emotional harm during those conflicts. You also want to be aware of your partner's attachment styles. Are they somebody who's feeling secure or anxious or avoidant? And how does their attachment style influence how the partner approaches and resolves conflicts? You need to learn that about each other. So because if one of you is anxious and one of you is avoidant, you're going to handle conflicts very differently. So how do you handle it, and how can you mesh the two styles so that you can actually accomplish something in resolving your issues? Let's also talk now about the role of community norms and expectations and how that affects conflict resolution. You've obviously got, if you're in DS Dynamic, then you're a part of the BDSM community. You might be involved in the community where you go to munches and events, or you might not be. And that influence is going to affect. I have found, for oddly enough, that people who are more active and involved in the BDSM community are a little bit better about managing conflict resolution with their DS dynamics because they're a little more aware of the reality versus the fantasy when it comes to DS dynamics. While the people who are not involved and they're getting their information from fiction or movies or what they think a DS dynamic is, they're more likely to have it in their heads that, well, the dominant is in charge and the submissive just has to go along for the ride and deal with it.
See, but those are all biased by either the author, the producer, how the actors portray it, the writer of it's so biased and so stereotypical most of the time that it's just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out at munches, then you'll see other couples together. And I can guarantee you at some point or another, even if you don't see them in a full-fledged argument, you might see them bicker a little bit, and you can watch how they resolve it. And you probably are not going to see the submissive be subservient and just give in and do whatever the dominant tells them because they're the dominant. Not that that doesn't happen, and not that I'm saying that's not a valid way to do it. I'm just saying you're not going to see a lot of that. Now, you might see that at the dungeon because maybe they're following a little more high protocol when they're in the dungeon. But that's also something to be aware of. Like, there's times for high protocol and there's times for low protocol. And you need to figure out when you are resolving conflicts, like, are you going to follow high protocol during that? And you're going to say things like, sir or ma'am or master or goddess, whatever it is. I would like to bring to your attention an issue that I'm having. May we please talk about it?
Sounds about right.
Right? I mean, you need to figure it out. Or is it more likely going to be, hey, pause the DS for a second. Got to talk to you about an issue. All of this is something you should sit down beforehand and negotiate how you're going to handle this. If you need to seek community support, then do it. Talk to your friends who are in the same roles you are. Find out how they handle things. Whether it be a mentor or a peer or you're in online forums. Ask them, how do you navigate conflict? And just remember, there's discerning, constructive advice, and then there's just harmful suggestions. And hopefully you are smart enough to know the difference.
Hopefully.
And also remember, too, even if it's constructive advice, what works for one relationship doesn't always work for the other. So pick and choose the advice that you're given for what you think would work best. All right? And remember, if you choose to just kind of let this conflict go and not resolve it, it's going to impact trust and intimacy with your relationship. It's going to most likely have some long-term damage to your relationship. You're going to accumulate a lot of resentment. Even if it was a small unresolved issue at the beginning, either it's going to grow or you're just going to keep piling on different small unresolved issues till you have a big pot of steaming, bubbly anger. And it's going to be a problem. So I definitely want to emphasize regular check-ins with each other, open communication. I know couples, and I think this is great, who sit down maybe once a week or once a month and go, hey, okay, let's see you do it once a month. How's our month been? Any issues pop up that we need to discuss?
I'm more of the festering cesspool of anger until it explodes mindset.
I used to be. One of the things that works for me, just my advice for what works for me, is I like time to chew on it and process it because a couple of things are going to happen. Either a little bit of time passes and I'm not even upset anymore or angry. So I recognize whatever it wasn't that big of a deal and I'm so over it. Or B, I might go, I'm still really upset, but I highly recognize that this is a me issue. It's not that they did anything wrong. This is my insecurities, my jealousy, my problems, and therefore it's up to me to resolve it on my own. Or C, you know what? It's been a couple days. I'm still upset about this. And the more I think about it, there are changes that they could reasonably make. I'm not being unreasonable to ask for this, so that we can now discuss it. And then I have to work up the courage to then say something.
That's the part that gets me. I am such a pansy when it comes to that.
Well, that's perfect. Let's talk about some communication strategies for conflict resolution. And for anybody who's in therapy or has been in therapy, some of these are really going to sound familiar.
Oh boy, Iro's going to have a field day with this.
Don't send me hate mail, please, Iro. I'm very sensitive. I'm just a baby.
Oh, that was
Is that
a lot
better?
better. That was much better.
I was working on that. Thank you so much. See, conflict resolution, I've resolved that problem. Active listening. We are so bad about listening to respond. So while the other person's talking to you, you're already starting to get in your head how you're going to respond to them versus listening to what they have to say without interrupting or, ready, judging.
Whoop, I'm out.
Yeah. There's the old, the paraphrasing. So I think what you're saying is, what you're telling me is, or what I'm hearing is, right? To confirm understanding, showing that you're engaged in this conversation, that you're paying attention to what they have to say, and to make sure that you are understanding what it is they're telling you. Because remember, sometimes what they might tell, like if I say, it really made me angry that you didn't throw out the garbage. That's one thing, but great. But what they're really saying is because it made me feel like something that was important to me wasn't important to you, and therefore I'm not important to you, right? Like it's that continuation. It wasn't just that you didn't throw out the garbage. It was what that makes you feel when that happens. The old using I statements. I feel anger when this happens because of this, and I need this solution for it. So one example specific to like DS Dynamics would be, I feel neglected when our aftercare is rushed because it's an important part of my emotional well-being and I need us to spend more time on it. I actually did this. This was one of the arguments that I did very much have with Voldemort when I was talking earlier about the boundaries. What was happening is during my aftercare, because back then I in my early days, I really needed the aftercare. Somehow my metamor would become a part of the aftercare. And
were they involved in the scene?
No.
Ew.
And I didn't have a good relationship with my metamor. I hated her. And I know she hated me. She was very threatened by me and did everything in her power to drive a wedge between me and Voldemort. And well done to her, she succeeded. So you got to give her credit. She had a goal and she succeeded. And I said to him, well, I really feel unimportant when my metamor becomes a part of my aftercare, because while we are polyamory and I understand I need to share you, there are certain times where I need it to be just the two of us because I need to feel that connection with you. And aftercare after our scenes is one of those times. And I need it to be just us so that I can have that connection with you and therefore get the benefit of the aftercare. So we did come up with the solution that during my aftercare, it would be just the two of us.
All right.
And yeah, and he blew it, needless to say. But
I was going to say, how long did that last?
Not long at all. That was definitely a him problem, not a me problem.
For sure. And her problem.
Right. And then, of course, practicing empathy and validation. Making sure when you are talking to their partner, please do not tell them that what they're feeling is stupid or worse, wrong. There's nothing like being told what your feelings are wrong.
Ooh, the invalidationness of that is just, ugh.
Yeah. Especially, too, if what you're feeling is some of those bad tapes.
See, I understand what that is now.
Right?
I got it.
And it's a good analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, it works.
I love it. That's why I'm giving Loving BDSM all the credit in the world. That was their thing, and it's brilliant. So if you are basically telling your partner you're wrong to feel that way, or the other one, you shouldn't feel that way. Look, if I could control my emotions, I would.
I sometimes don't bother trying.
Right. And so try techniques such as, I can see how you might, how that would make you feel that way. Or, yeah, it really does make sense that you're upset given what happened. If you can show empathy and validation, you're going to create a safe space where they feel comfortable coming to you with their thoughts and feelings. And it's going to, again, grow trust in the relationship and create more intimacy between you. Here's one of the hardest things, if you ask me. Importance of setting aside your ego and defensiveness.
Oh, I don't.
That's a hard one, especially if you are telling me that something I did hurt you.
I will start crying.
I will probably get very defensive. What do you mean what I did hurt you? That would make me a bad person. I'm not a bad person. I would never do something that would hurt you. Well, there's a difference. Not everything you do that hurts somebody was intentional.
I would be along the lines of you're way too fucking sensitive. How did that hurt you? And here's the part that I'm just going to say it. Daddy J has this propensity to like pout when I call him out on stuff that pisses me off, which is why I don't do it, because the pouting pisses me off more. And it's a vicious cycle of not helpfulness. And I try to avoid it.
Yeah, well, that's the ego and defensiveness. He just does it in the form of a pout.
It drives me nuts.
All right. Understand that, and again, God knows I'm working on this. When somebody tells you that something you did hurt them, that is not the same thing as saying you are a terrible, horrible, awful human being.
But can I say that part?
In your head, yes.
Oh.
That's an inside voice.
Subtitles.
Then say it, turn your back on them.
Okay.
Okay. Or just think to yourself later and not think while you're in front of them.
Got it.
That's one thing you need to do to remember. This is not, as I tell people, if you were the type of person who is evil and mean and does things intentionally to hurt me, I'd walk away. It's what I did with Voldemort. I walked away. I am going to assume that whatever you did to hurt me was obviously unintentional. Now, there's that whole intent versus impact, right? I need your intent to be good, even if the impact was bad. But that doesn't mean if your intent is good, we can ignore that the impact was bad. We have to discuss that. And maybe if you're explaining to your partner what happened and you're worried that they're going to be defensive, you can start off with saying, look, I know your intentions were good. I know you didn't mean to hurt me, but I still ended up hurt. So that you can hopefully stop the defensiveness in its tracks by letting them know. I'm recognizing, I am telling you right now, I agree. Your intent was good. You did not mean to hurt me.
However,
but things
I still feel
happen,
like this.
Right? So some of the techniques for that is also if somebody's coming to you and you're worried you're going to react defensively, take deep breaths. Okay, pause before responding. And if you need to take a minute to frame your thoughts, tell them that. Look at them and say, look, I'm not ignoring you. I just need to pause here for a second. And really just for a quick second, not a whole, let's talk about this tomorrow or 10 minutes later. And again, if you can manage your ego and your defensiveness, it's going to lead to more respectful and constructive dialogues. All right, Dara, this one's for you. Ready?
Oh, boy.
Role of nonverbal communication.
I see what you did there.
Meaning, don't curse at them in subtitles.
But
okay.
I can't actually stop myself from doing that.
Body language. You guys, come on. You've heard of this stuff, right? What does it mean when there's somebody standing in front of you with their arms crossed or their hands on their hips?
Mad.
Yeah, you won't often see me cross my arms because I can't get them over my boobs. So it's a very uncomfortable position for me. Hands on hips, though.
I can cross my arms.
I can, but it's very uncomfortable, so it doesn't stay for long. It feels
weird.
It's like crossing my legs and my big thighs get in the way. I can do it, but I don't do it for long. Remember, if your face has subtitles, control the subtitles. Dara.
What?
And tone of voice. I don't think we give enough credence to the tone of voice.
This is still aimed at me, isn't it? Because I am notorious for the whole clenching my teeth while speaking thing, and it comes out like very obvious.
Well, it comes out very defensive, and then that's a problem. So be aware of your own nonverbal signals during conflicts and your partner's nonverbal signals.
The
pouting, right? And if your partner is expressing anything nonverbally that indicates discomfort or anger, it's okay for you to address it. And say to them, I see that you're pouting. That tells me that you might be feeling defensive. And I just want to reassure you, I know your intent was good. I know you didn't realize this was going to upset me. And that's why I'm telling you, so that you can learn And hopefully it doesn't happen again.
I mean, that's as it should be.
It is. Here's an important one too. Time your discussions. There's a time and a place for everything. Your partners come home from a long ass day at work and you could tell it was not a positive, fun day at work. Maybe that's not the time to say, hey, got a conflict. Can we talk about it? Make sure that they're in the right frame of mind to hear about it. Even the old, hey, look, when you've got a minute or you're calmer, I'd really like to talk to you about this conflict. Because you know what's going to happen at that point? I'm calm. What do you want to talk about? Or I've already had such a bad day at the office and now you're going to hit me with this shit? Like, right? You've probably all been there and done that and had that happen.
Oh, yeah. No, that is the absolute fucking worst. And I'm usually the one that comes home and has had a shitty day at work. So.
And you want to make sure that not one partner's not totally dominating the conversation. That both people have equal opportunity to express their views. I still have fond memories of my parents arguing. You want to know how my parents argued?
Your mom yelled?
My dad would sit down with his arms crossed. And my mom would stand and yell. My dad said nothing, but the subtitles told me he was not happy. And my mom would yell. And that's how they argued. Look, they're coming up on their, let's see, I have to figure out the math. They're coming up on 59 years of marriage. I'm sorry, no, they already had their 59th wedding anniversary. So next year, 2025, will be 60. So obviously their technique works for them and they figured it out. Oh, God, I should tell you, talk about conflict. Remind me later, because it has nothing to do with this at all. But the very interesting and fun ride I had in the car with my parents trying to back into a parking spot and the conflict around that.
Oh, my God.
Nothing like driving with two old people in a car trying to back up.
Why were they doing that?
Because it was a Tesla, and you have to back up to be able to plug the Tesla in.
They have a Tesla? They're those people now?
They have a Tesla. My sister and brother-in-law each have a Tesla.
Oh, okay.
It's much more common out west. Much, much more common out west. Tons of people have Teslas there.
I actually saw a freaking Cybertruck on the road the other day.
Ugly things?
Like in the wild. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Those are the ugliest goddamn things I've ever seen in my life. It's uglier than a what is that stupid fucking dog with no hair?
Chihuahua. There's
no,
Chihuahuas.
They're the actual bald ones, and they have those little tufts of hair.
I've only seen it in cat.
No, not a Sphinx. It's a dog. I'll look it up at some point.
Some of the other things you can be aware of is maybe it'll help if you write things down. You can do it in a couple ways. You can write down your notes so that when you talk to your partner, you're prepared and you know what you want to say. You can write them down and share them with the partner so that they know ahead of time what you want to talk about, and then you come together. Voldemort would have me send him an email with my thoughts, which actually helped me a lot because writing it out and being able to edit it before I sent it enabled me to I don't want to say pull the emotion out of it per se, but take the anger out of it.
You had to unpack your angry eyes.
I did. And that really helped. I think it was Loving BDSM that talked about how they used to go in separate rooms and text each other.
That's clever.
Because it was very difficult for Kayla as a submissive to share her thoughts with her dominant because she didn't want to disappoint him and she didn't think it was very submissive of her to do this. So they would literally go into separate rooms and text.
That's actually really clever.
Right? Now, that's one way. Now, the risk you run into is you cannot always figure out tone.
Yes.
From text, and you might make some incorrect assumptions, but it might be a way to help you organize your thoughts, reduce the emotional intensity. It would solve your problem of subtitles.
Yeah, but a lot of times when I am having an argument, I use my subtitles
intentionally
to have a conversation without actually having to say the words. Sometimes it's easier when I don't actually have to say the thing, but he can tell by my reaction to it. So that part's easier. And I think it's partly the little doing it, but also it makes it easier. So I kind of use it to my advantage in that case, I guess. On the other hand, the other day I had an entire conversation about where I wanted him to scratch my back by not saying a word, just kind of going,
That's very little of you.
It was. Yes. I was sitting on top of him and he was reaching behind me to scratch my back. And I went, and he would move and I'd be like, and he'd move again. And I'd be like,
You do you, boo.
It worked. I got what I wanted.
I cannot emphasize enough this idea of regular communication check-ins. Whether you have scheduled discussions, once a week, once a month, once a quarter, where you sit down and you kind of put the DS aside for a second and just resolve any conflicts that might have come up. And these are obviously conflicts that can wait versus ones that need to be addressed pretty quickly.
I was going to say, I feel like once a quarter is too long.
It depends on what the conflicts are. Sometimes the conflicts might be, okay, these were my tasks for this quarter, or this was my boundaries or whatever, and it worked, it didn't work, we need to fix it, that kind of stuff. And being proactive in addressing issues and knowing, okay, if I just have this amount of time frame, we're going to discuss the issues and then we'll resolve them. Maybe you have some check-in questions where it's just, how are you feeling about our dynamic? Is there anything we need to work on? That, you can, we talk about journaling a lot, right? Where that's the journaling, and you can write down, this is how I'm feeling, or this is something we should be working on type thing.
Like an emotional tracker.
Yeah. Now here's where I'm going to talk about more of the way you should be talking to each other, right? Respect the foundation of a DS. And that's both sides, right? The dominant needs to respect the submissive needs to respect the dominant, and you need to talk to each other respectfully. Resolving a conflict is not the time to just pull out every little thing. If you are working on a particular conflict and that's what you talk about, you don't now start pulling every other fucking thing that has happened. That's a separate discussion.
I'm guilty of that.
Right? Make sure there are ground rules to your discussion. And the ground rules might be, this is what we're talking about now. If you have something else, because the whataboutism can happen a lot.
What about when you did that?
Right, okay. And the answer to that is, if that is something that upsets you, we definitely should talk about it. Let's finish discussing this issue first, and then we can discuss that issue. If you need to table the discussion for a minute because you find yourself getting a little hot-headed about it, then tell them that, look, can we take a 5-10 minute break? I can feel myself getting defensive and angry, and that's not going to help us resolve this. Just let me have a 5-10 minute break, and then we can come back and discuss it. If you are the other person, let them have that 5-10 minute break. And if you are the person who needs the break, if you say you're coming back in 5 to 10 minutes, then fucking come back in 5 to 10 minutes. This is not a get out of jail free card where you can now excuse yourself and get out of this conversation.
I've actually used that at work where I'm like, okay, I feel like we need a break. Let's just take a couple minutes, go breathe, go get some water, and then come right back.
You want to make sure that you are speaking calmly, that you're avoiding blame, and you are focusing on the issue and not attacking the other person. That's why we encourage use of I statements to express your feelings. Again, your feelings are not wrong. They're how you fucking feel. So please don't tell your partner they're wrong when they feel a certain way. Now, they might be feeling that way because they're misunderstanding something. And then I still wouldn't say you're wrong about what you're misunderstanding. You could say something like, well, let me clarify for you why I did what I did or what I was thinking when I was doing it, and maybe that will help with your feelings, right? Definitely avoid any harmful behaviors like name calling. This one's really hard for me. Sarcasm, because that's my second language. Right? So things like no shit, Sherlock is probably not something you should be saying in the middle of the conflict, or that's a you problem.
That's a you problem, yeah.
Right? Or bringing up past grievances. Well, yeah, but what you did, and the whataboutisms. And make sure you're modeling respectful behavior for them, for the issue at hand. Try to cultivate a culture of empathy. You want to work together to understand each other's perspectives and find common ground. Some therapists will tell you, imagine the conflict from the other person's point of view. And I've heard of people doing exercises where I'll take your role and you take my role, and let's see if we can come up with a resolution that way. And then here's something to really think about. Once you have resolved the conflict, maybe you should do some aftercare. It might have been very emotional, might have been very draining, might have been very difficult for you. If you were very scared to bring anything up, your fear or fight might have gone.
Fight or flight?
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of F's. I'm sorry. And it's not the fuck or free, which are my favorite F words.
Fight, flight, or freeze.
There we go. And so now coming down off of that is almost like coming down off of a scene with all the different chemical reactions in your body from all of that. So maybe you should include aftercare as part of the conflict resolution. And Will provide you with some physical comfort, some verbal reassurances, or even just the quality time together to remind each other we care about each other. We want to make this work. So we're a team. And obviously, as with anything, sit and negotiate what might work, what might not work, and have an entire dedicated aftercare plan for those conflicts. Okay, so really quickly, some negotiating some actual solutions and compromises. Be flexible, folks. I don't care if one of you is the dominant, one of you is the submissive. Sometimes you're going to need to be flexible to come up with a resolution to it. And it doesn't make you any less dominant if you're flexible. It's all nice and dandy that if I want a submissive who does all my cooking for me, and then then one particular day they're not well and they can't do it, and I'm angry about that. Like that's you got to be flexible. If I want dinner and you're sick, then I'm going to have to bring in dinner or do something else. Figure out what each partner's top priorities are and in that conflict and find common ground.
You have to work with what you've got.
Yeah. Explore creative solutions. Encourage thinking outside the box to find an innovative solution that's going to satisfy both of you and solve the problem. Maybe there's new rituals or modifying existing practices that will address both of your concerns and resolve it. And you can even come up with temporary solutions. Like, I know this is not going to work in the long run, but will this work for now until we can come up with a better solution that will work in the long run? Or will this, at least, if we do it this way, will at least mitigate some of the issues while we continue to brainstorm more permanent solutions that will fix all the issues, right? And again, that comes back to the flexibility. Be willing to do that. I can't solve 100% of the problem right now. I can't solve 50% of the problem right now. Is that okay? Let's do it and then work on the next 50%. And again, negotiation, active listening, empathy will help you negotiate a solution that will make everybody happy. And make sure that you are balancing your needs versus your partner's needs. And it's not like 100% your partner's and 0% yours. It should be equal, right? If your toy is broken, you can't play with your toy. So I don't care if they're the submissive. If they're not getting what they need, they're not going to be able to give you what you want. So I think that's been a lot. I could keep going, but hopefully that'll give you guys enough information to get you started. Remember, conflicts are opportunities for growth and deeper understanding rather than an actual threat to your relationship. And just because somebody has a conflict with you doesn't mean they hate you, doesn't mean they want to break up with you, doesn't mean they want to end the DS. Just means there's a problem and that you're dealing with humans and humans have problems. So
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any problems.
No, you don't, honey. Neither do I. That's why we make such a great team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want more information on conflict resolution in DS Dynamics, you really can just research conflict resolution, because the main difference between the DS Dynamics and just in any other relationship is is putting aside the dominant and the submissive roles. And I just highly recommend you do. I personally, my thoughts, that you need to come into conflict resolution as equals, because the problem, if you come into it with, well, it's the dom and the sub, then you might start to think, well, as long as the dom's getting what they want, then the conflict is resolved. And that makes the submissive unhappy. It makes the submissive not want to be in the relationship. So that's my thoughts. I've done a lot of talking.
Yes, you have. Well, I'm glad you shared all of your thoughts.
Do you have anything you want to add? Did I miss anything? Did I forget anything?
God, no.
I wanted to be thorough.
I'm out.
Okay.
Like, as in dead.
We have no conflict with this. I agree.
Sure, no conflict. We're done. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to show support, there are several ways. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can support our affiliates or help spread the word about our kinky podcast to your friends.
Don't forget to rate and review Pink Kink on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pretty, stay safe,
and stay twisted.